Hi, I'm Chaos Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerd Podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with director BJ Turner III, here to promote his short film, My Heart is That Eternal Dream, a queer romance action film now on Kickstarter. Welcome, BJ.
Hello, thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thanks for joining us today. But outside my introduction, who is BJ Turner III in his own words?
Well, I'm just a weirdo who likes making cool art. Was probably the simplest way to put it. I just grew up in Arkansas. Always loved watching like weird genre stuff on VHS tapes. Stole them from my uncle and stuff like that. And kind of like fell in love with making movies, and so it's basically what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I think everyone has that weird uncle who likes stuff other than our parents. Because I did the same thing too, where I would sneak into his VHS cabinet because I found his key and I would unlock it and watch like Mel Brooks films when I was like 8 years old. So yeah, I think it was like Young Frankenstein and then Blazing Saddles, which I shouldn't have been watching at all. I forget the other stuff, but yeah, just sneaking into his stuff, and he introduced me to a lot of other things, I guess alternative stuff that were typically our parents wouldn't want us watching.
Yeah, specifically, I was going to mention that I remember being like, I don't know, I think I was like 8 years old when the first Men in Black came out. I was a little too young for it. My parents didn't want me to go see it, but my uncle was like, hey, you want to go like grab a burger and get some ice cream? And I was like, yeah. And then as we were leaving, he was like, by the way, we're going to go watch Men in Black. And so that was how I ended up seeing Men in Black.
Yeah. I think we all have a weird uncle that does it, or the cool uncle.
Yeah.
Or aunt, I should say. But what is My Heart is That Eternal Dream about?
So the basic premise is that it's kind of like a romance love story set within the world of like professional assassinations. One of the things I like to do is like take like big Hollywood, like kind of magical, like mythical ideas, but bring them down to the real world. And so it's like what would it be like if you were actually a hitman? You'd probably hate your job just like everybody else. The pay's probably not great. You've got to work with people you don't like. Your boss is demanding. And then you're kind of just trying to create your own piece of happiness inside of like the hand you've been dealt. And so it basically follows specifically these two women who are in a relationship. One of them wants to quit her job and move away, like quit being an assassin. And the other one's like in love with like the thrills and everything and wants to stay where she's at. And so it's kind of the conflict between those two mindsets. And then the complication is one of the girls has an ex who also works with them. And it just so happens that since the first girl's trying to leave, the boss wants her to be taken out. And gives the job to her ex. So the ex has this whole like, oh, do I just go ahead and just kill her, get all that sorted out that way, or do I find a different way to resolve all of these feelings?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So could you, I guess, elaborate a little bit more on the creative process on My Heart is That Eternal Dream as a whole? So I guess just a thought in your head, right? Like, how did you come up with it? Where did it come from? How were you inspired by it? To working on it as a complete work and then now promoting it, because I believe it's like pretty much done already, right? You have everything done. It's just more of just because you say it's going to be made anyway, from what I remember on the Kickstarter, right? So it's going to be made regardless, but it's nice to have that cushion of money for, for the crew and the actors and the special effects and things like that. So yeah, so just like as a thought in your head, so working on it to fleshing it out, filming it and writing it and whatnot, to now promoting it on Kickstarter.
Gotcha. Yeah. It all started with like an image in my head. I'm a big fan of like bizarre like 80s, 90s Japanese media. And I really got into this subgenre called V cinema, where they're like theaters weren't doing great in the late 80s in Japan. So they decided to start focusing on the home video market, but it was actual like full theatrical film studios making stuff that only went straight to video. So it's a higher production value than like regular straight to video stuff. And but there weren't any censors. So they were kind of free to do whatever they want. And there's a lot of weird stuff that I wouldn't recommend checking out, but there's also a lot of really cool stuff because it was a place for a lot of people that didn't get like very much recognition within the regular theatrical like system. They were kind of given just a little bit of money and free reign. They're like, we need 3 movies a year to keep this thing going. And so they would they focused rather on having like, big elaborate sets and like massive long-winded stories into just having really cool artistic pieces. And a lot of it is very stylish with the lighting and the way it's filmed. And there's a like subset within that. It's a lot of like queer media and a lot of like female-led stuff that, like, again, because they weren't being pushed down by the theatrical system the way that they normally would, they're kind of free to expose. And that's kind of like the stuff that I discovered that had all these like really cool images and all of that. And those ideas were just like swirling around in my brain. And I was like, like, let's do something with this energy. Let's just write something. So originally I wrote just one scene, which is the central scene of the conflict between the three women that the movie kind of like revolves around. I just kind of wrote that as a single scene, just like an idea that came to me. And we've been making a lot of low budget features with Standard Definition, the whole film crew that I work with. And it's great. I love working with them, and I'm going to keep working with them for forever, as long as I can. But the downside with working with a crew is you can't move quite as quickly as if you were just an individual creative unit, because we have meetings every week. We work on the scripts together. We like plan everything out and get the production set up around all of our schedules. But if and that's like having 4 creative leads. So if we only have a singular voice behind that, it's a lot easier for me to like maneuver around my schedule. And then I'm the kind of person that I don't mind like doing weird hours if it's what I have to do to get this other person to do it, but I can't necessarily force other people to. So I started having this this hunger to like start making stuff again, like faster than what we're actually doing. And so we had made our first feature film about 1.5 years ago. We did it for only $2,000. And we did it all around like our jobs and other projects that we had going on. And so I thought, well, if we did that, what if I did something that was slightly lower scale and a little bit smaller, but essentially take the same principles and just make something in my spare time, kind of like, we've met a lot of cool artists and a lot of people who like just want to make cool things. So what if we just kind of in our spare time build this other short film while we're making the feature that I'm working on with Standard Definition just in the background? And that idea hit me, and I was kind of like playing. I wasn't sure if it was a good thing to follow through with. I didn't want to like take resources away from helping out Standard Definition, but I kind of started playing with the script. And then I ended up showing it to one of my collaborators in Standard Definition, Sam. And he read the script, and he thought it was a great idea and was actually like, go ahead and kind of like, as long as you don't like derail our major project, like do whatever you want to do, and we're behind you in any way that we can help, we'll pitch in. And so that was like really reassuring. I was afraid that if I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna go do this other thing, they're like, are you leaving us? I'm like, no, I just want to sort of make.
Are you breaking up the band? You're breaking up the band, BJ?
Yeah, exactly. And Sam actually refers to our group as like, he uses the band metaphor a lot. And so like a solo side project is very much like the idea behind this sort of thing. And so once I kind of gotten the blessing from them to kind of go off, take some of our resources, I mean like gear and that sort of stuff, to make this other project, I was like, okay, then started fleshing out the script, started talking to some actresses I had met here through various film festivals in Austin, other people that I was really wanting to work with, and just kind of got the ball rolling. And I wrote a whole script. I took it to the actors, got their input. I'm finishing out the final version of the script right now, which should be done in a couple of days. And so once that all landed in place, there was kind of this moment of like, oh, it's real. I guess I actually need to build a schedule for it. And so we started creating a shooting plan, how we're going to work it around everybody else's schedules. And that was kind of the point where the Kickstarter popped up in my head. I was like, well, if I'm going to be doing this with my own money, just kind of in my spare time, let's see if there's anybody else who like is interested in this sort of project. Would they want to pitch in? So I've never done Kickstarter crowdfunding, anything like that before, and just thought it would be, at least worth a shot. The most I'm going to, the worst case scenario is I'm spending my own money, which is already the plan. And I think that's one of the benefits that we as a film crew have, is like we've so far we've followed through in everything, no matter like what stuff has hit us. So I'm not concerned about finishing it, or like if this Kickstarter fails, I'm not going to have the money. But I'm kind of curious to see how big of an audience there is, like if people are interested in this sort of thing, to kind of create like partially, just a little bit of buzz for once the project's finished, because, if people have talked about it, heard about it before, then, it comes back and there's the finished product. That's, it's only going to help, basically. And then we launched the Kickstarter, and here I am, and I kind of have no idea what I'm doing, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, you made shorts and films on your own first, right? And then you joined a team with Standard Definition, right? And then now you're doing it on your own again, at least just this one project. So how has the transitions been from working on your own to joining a team to now? I guess you've gained all this experience with working with a team, and even bringing in more experience and knowledge and wisdom from working on your own to now back to working on your own solo project. So how has it been, the transitions in a way?
That's a great question. It's been a very interesting process, because in high school and college, I was kind of just making a bunch of stuff on my own with my friends, my sister, anybody who wanted to be in front of a camera. And that really taught me a lot about doing as much as I can with very little resources, just making the coolest thing available. And the downside is then I moved to Austin planning to be like, hey, I'm halfway through my film degree. Let's finish my film degree in Austin. It's where everything's happening. This is like 10 years ago. And let's see what we can do. But then unfortunately, I didn't realize that I moved away, left everybody I knew behind. And so everybody I had worked with, they're no longer around, and I don't really know anyone in the scene. So I couldn't really find anyone to do anything. And so, 7 or 8 years end up going by while I'm just working a job, trying to slowly put something together in the background. And then finally, one day I was just like, well, you know what, let's just make something, see who there is available. And I was very fortunate to have met Sam and Diana, who are absolutely wonderful creatives in their own right. My sister had ended up moving to Austin just shortly before all of that. And I ended up talking to all of them hey, I just want to make this thing, see if we can. The original idea was to make a feature film in about a week, which was a very ambitious idea. We had it was kind of ridiculous, but we had a script. We got all of our actors together, everything ready to go, and then the actress fell through. We had 5 characters. It was the 4 of us plus one other person, and COVID came in. She got COVID and was unable to do the project 3 weeks before we go, and so that was we had to shift gears. And that was really the formation of us working together as a team. It was kind of like a project I was spearheading before, and then it fell through. And then since we're all creatives, we kind of we've got the time off, we've got the resources, we've got the camera and the gear. What do we do for this week that we've already blocked off? And my sister suggested just let's make a bunch of short films. And so we all wrote a bunch of short film scripts and worked together. And that was kind of a real shift, because it was no longer hey, I'm making a thing, I have an idea, and I know what to tell everybody to do while we're doing everything. And it became this I've got this little piece, but everybody else has their own piece, and we're all helping out. And so it was fun but challenging to have to wear different hats, because I'm writer, director, editor is kind of what I tend to do. And then now I'm camera guy, pulling cables, running lights, doing all sorts of stuff for other people. So it was difficult in the I have to learn these skills sort of way. But I love the people and I love their projects, so it was very easy. They're all cool people to just fall into that. The biggest challenge was once we decided, hey, this is something we want to do. We had to figure out, how does this work? What's the hierarchy? Who has say over various different things? And we kind of ended up putting together this very democratic sort of system where we all basically bring it to the table, talk it out, projects that we want to work on, who's going to be in charge of that project, and various things like that. We ended up writing something that Sam and Diana called the werewolf clause, which is if somebody turns out to be just an absolute horrible person, a werewolf, then this is the thing we can pull to be okay, the group dissolves, walk away. We don't want to ruin our lives.
The game, werewolf. The werewolf game, that game?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I'm It sounds familiar. I was like, I wonder if that's what they game based it off, the werewolf game. Okay.
Basically. And I think that was the biggest change for me. Like the part that was hard to get used to is when you work with a group, there's a lot of bureaucracy that has to happen. Like you have to make sure everybody's on board, or if they're not, they're cool with you, doing X thing or whatever. And so that was the two biggest things were having oversight and then moving slightly slower because we're now a unit. That like saying is you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And then shifting back to the doing this one project, that's actually I think has been the hardest transition is the doing one as a solo, because I've kind of gotten used to having everybody there, having my back. And I know that if I let something, slip, then one of them will catch it. Like if something falls through the cracks, and I don't really have that safety net now anymore. So that's like the scariest part is I don't have the team that's been supporting me the last little bit. And I'm excited to, try it out. That'll be a fun challenge, but also, I love being able to count on them. And I think as far as like the transitions, that's the biggest things that have changed between the various modes of working.
So what do you think is the most difficult aspect of filmmaking that you've encountered that you feel like never gets easier?
Honestly, it's probably the fatigue. It's one of those things that you don't like realize while you're filming, but you'll because it's almost like adrenaline. You're like running, but by the time you hit the end of a day, you've actually like worked your body pretty hard that whole day, and you're like tired and sore, and that will accumulate over an entire like shooting schedule till by the end you're like absolutely dying. You're like, I just need to sleep for 1,000 years. And we've done everything across the 17 projects that we have made in the last 2.5 years. We've made it easier every single time on us. We've had, slightly larger budgets, more food, more caffeine, more people helping us out, better scheduling. So it keeps going smoother. But the thing that seems to never change is you are going to get tired. You're only human. And it's easy to think like, okay, we've got 8 hours. Here are the shots that are going to get done in that 8 hours. And we got our break here. But the truth is, everybody is going to be like falling apart by about halfway through the day. And then they'll just like slowly peter out as the day goes on. And that's just a fact of like, everybody who does their job, by the time, you hit 3 o'clock, you're just looking at the wall, waiting for for it to hit 5 o'clock. And so far, it's the one thing we've never been able to crack. Like, how do we keep people from getting tired? Because it is a bit of a slog. It's fun, but it's kind of like playing sports or anything. You have a lot of fun doing it, but it is wearing your body down the whole time.
Yeah, I've recently started getting into acting and working background for like TV shows here that they did in the fall, and we're talking like at least 16-hour days, right? And it's just, and we're working background, so we're just supposed to be there for spatial reasons, and we're tired. Yeah. And then like I started doing like scripted stuff for like not short films, student films and student TV stuff, or just say web series. And those aren't long. Those may be like, it depends on when I have to be on set, but those can be easily 8-hour days, 6-8-hour days. And like you said, it's the adrenaline that helps you carry on with the day. And for me, it's like I just want to memorize my lines. I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not worried about the lighting or the camera or anything. I'm just worried about my lines. And then as soon as I get the scene down and it's time for me to leave, that's when it kind of all like falls down. And I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten. Well, I did eat, but I don't think I tasted any of the food because I was so busy trying to memorize my lines in my head. Oh, my feet hurt, my back hurt. And I got to take this 45-minute drive back home or where I came from. Then I got to deal with what I got to deal with when I get home. So, yeah, it's just, we're human beings. So as much as capitalism thinks we're not, we're human beings. So, but how has the reception been from audiences when you and your team, Standard Definition Films, screen your shorts and your films, or like when you submit them for festivals? Like, how is it received by people?
So far the reception's been very positive. I've really enjoyed a lot of what people have to say. A lot of our stuff is influenced by like martial arts films, like Hong Kong action films from like the 80s and 90s, what my sister and I grew up watching. And so a lot of our earlier stuff, especially whenever it was kind of more of our creative voice as the other, like the group kind of like coagulated, there's a lot of like that. And I think that's something that people don't get to see too much of these days. Like everything's gotten to the point where it's like, it's very slick and it's like special effects and like moving camera focused. It's more about like everything they can add to it rather than what's actually happening in the shot. And that's one of our focuses is actually it's a lot of people are like, oh yeah, practical effects are better, but it's not as simple as that. It's about making something cool in camera that people want to watch. And so far, a lot of people have come to us being like, oh, I haven't seen anything like that in a long time, or I've never seen anything like that before. And a lot of times we take our lived experiences, like I'm Latino, my sister's trans, Diana is Native American, and so we take a lot of that influence and put it into the stories without trying to be too loud about it. We just kind of like want it to be there, and that seems to like really resonate with people because I love these movies, but it's very easy to get bored of watching angry white men getting revenge, and so just having a slightly different flavor, I think, is something people react to. We actually just screened last night. My sister, one of her martial arts shorts, screened at the Austin Short Film Showcase. And the reception there was incredibly positive. It was very Jackie Chan style, like comedy action using props. And, it's like three punches and then a joke sort of setup thing. And people really, really like it. And it's very heartening because we make stuff that we just, that we think is cool. We're not really concerned too much. I mean, obviously we want people to like it, but our goal isn't to make something marketable or to make something that everybody will love. It's to just make something that we want to watch, that we're going to be happy with. But then you also end up in a space where when you're not thinking about like, how does anybody react to it? Then you go to show it to someone, you're like, oh, is it good? Like, I don't know if this is something the average person will like, since it's so much of like who I am in it. And then so when people respond positively and give like that feedback, you hear them laughing, you hear them gasping as like a, gore or something like that hits the screen. That's like a very, very awesome feeling to just know. It's very validating to know that people are enjoying it and that they like it. And so far we haven't found any like mainstream success from anyone who will like pay us, but the people who've seen our stuff seem to really like it, and that's very, very heartening.
Mm-hmm. So what other advice, because you've getting a lot of advice through your own experience as a filmmaker, but what other advice would you offer to other creators or filmmakers you wish someone would have told you when you first started?
Honestly, the biggest thing that I've learned is that it's easier than you think it is. And I know there's like a whole like section of like the like get it done, like just do it sort of mentality. And I used to like just ignore all of that. I'm like, oh yeah, but you've got resources, you've got like connections, the ability or whatever. But the truth is like you actually can make just about anything. Like it's still going to be difficult. Like we made our feature film, and it was still difficult, but at the end of the day, it ended up being more achievable than we thought it was. And I think that's something a lot of times people, they like build it up in their head and they're like, oh, it has to be this amazing, perfect thing. I don't know if I can pull it off the way it is in my head. I don't know if I'll be able to get the resources or do that. The truth is like done is better than perfect. So like just finishing something is like more important than making it the like beautiful idea you have in your mind. Because if you make one thing, then that means you'll make another thing and you'll make another, and they'll just get better as they go on. And eventually you'll achieve that like golden idea you had. But really just come up with something you can do. We always talk about terms of minimal viable product. Like what's the smallest version of it you can make that will then still be the idea. And typically you get it down to there, and then you make it even simpler and you make it at a level that you can achieve, and then just follow through. And a lot of times, like I know in my own life, I've gotten to a point where like something didn't turn out the way I thought it would or the way I wanted it to. It wasn't quite what I had imagined, and I'll get like halfway through it and be like, oh, I don't know if I even care about this project anymore. But the thing that I found is if you go ahead and push through and finish that project, you tend to end up actually making something you like regardless. And then once it's done, you can make the next thing. You don't get stuck on that. So I would just say, biggest piece of advice, make something and then just follow through, finish it, and then make something after that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So throughout, I guess, this whole process with My Heart is That Eternal Dream, or maybe even something you made with standard definition, something before that, something you did in school, or whatever it may be. It might not even be your art. It can be something maybe in your personal life or work or with your friends, intimate relationships, your pets, whatever it may be. Do you or have you ever gotten overwhelmed with trying to balance everything? And how do you typically manage your mental well-being when you do get overwhelmed or when it does become too much?
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely even very recently, standard definition, just all the stuff we're juggling. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by everything. We're currently in pre-production for our feature film that we'll be shooting later this year in the second half of this year for standard definition. And so I'm juggling that while finishing editing on, we've got 6 short films that are finished but haven't been edited yet. So a couple of us are in the editing bay with that, on top of working on my own solo project. And then I have my day job, the thing that actually pays the bills right now. And juggling all of that can be a lot. And there's a lot of times where I have been overwhelmed, and my reaction tends to end up being just like shutting down, and then I just like stop and lock myself in my room and watch watch movies, play video games, and then nothing gets done, and it just exacerbates the problem. And so in getting deeper into this, actually coming up with ways to handle that and work through it has been very, very important. And the biggest thing that I've found is to just allow yourself to not hit a deadline. There's a lot of times where you can set your own, you're putting pressure because you're like, I have to get this done by this day so that this will get done by this day and this will get done by this day. And it's possible to miss one deadline and then see all of the deadlines mounting. And then that kind of self discipline, you're punish yourself basically on missing that, and that can compound and make it harder to finish the next one. And I think forgiving yourself is just the most important thing. Oh, hey, you're only human. You're not gonna, that's fine. Unfortunately, I work in a space at a low enough budget that I can talk to everybody and be like, cool, let's move this deadline around or something like that. I understand in a larger, studio that might not be quite as easy, but the ability to just accept that you're human and you're not always going to succeed, compounded with I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a group of really great people. The other 3 that I work with in standard definition, we're really good friends. We're very close. And so when any of us are overwhelmed, we have a weekly meeting where we make sure everything is still on track for all the projects we're doing. And one of our first action item on every meeting is our vibe check, where we're like, where is everybody at? How's everybody feeling? Is anyone need more time or overwhelmed? Or is everybody managed to clear everything out and we can go faster? We have, that's it's become a conversation we have every week with everybody just to make sure everything's good. And I think that's the core of it, is just giving yourself space to manage that and to understand that you don't have to be a machine. You can just sort it out, figure out, prioritize, get it back on track.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you wanted to touch on about My Heart is That Eternal Dream that we may have missed as a whole, maybe discuss some rewards for potential backers or any festivals that you all are involved in, or any of your previous work that may still be out for others to enjoy?
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, on My Heart is That Eternal Dream, that one's one I'm super excited about. It's we're going to be trying some more weird kind of visual stuff that we're going to mess with. It's going to be a little more minimalistic than some of the other stuff we're doing, which is giving me like a little bit of freedom to be weird. And I think that's going to be really fun. Plus, it's going to allow us to like play around with a lot of our action and stunts and effects that we do. I think it's something people will be really interested to watch. Again, it's like a slice of life romance drama meets a Hong Kong acrobatic action movie. And the thing that we're trying to do is not make that like a funny juxtaposition. We're trying to make that like that's just a everyday sort of life thing. And I think that'll be a fun little thing that doesn't get seen a whole lot that I think people will enjoy. As far as backing, like I would encourage anybody watching, go check it out. You don't have to back if you're not in a space to, but check that out. Check out Standard Definition. I'm sure you'll find something you like. But we do have right now on our Kickstarter, you can get anything from a digital copy of the film once it's finished, all the way up to we've got Blu-rays, posters, and stuff like that that'll be signed that you can pledge to get. There's even a couple of bigger things like we've got our very top tier is like, hey, you can be in the movie. We need a handful of henchmen for a particular scene. So if you want to be an extra in it, like, that's one of the tiers you can hit. So there's lots of cool, fun stuff for people to check out. And again, if you're not able to donate, like at least check out Standard Definition and the work of the other actors who are involved, because they've all got really cool stuff that they've made. And I think you'll at the very least find something that you'll enjoy. And then as far as like other projects, like I said, we finished that feature film. We filmed it at late 2021. It was finished editing early 2022. We hit our festival run. We've actually won a handful of awards. We got Spirit of Stuff at the South Texas Underground Film Festival. Just lost track of all of them. We got like my brain just went blank. We're nominated for Best Film at 2 different festivals. And then ourselves as a studio, we're given an award as well for that particular feature. It's called Part-Time Killer. The basic premise is that it's a trans woman struggling to pay for her bills and specifically her transition. And she ends up finding this app called InstaKill that is essentially Uber, but for killing people. Someone you don't like, you just put them in this app, it'll find someone to kill them for you, and you pay that person, you're good to go, give them a star rating and everything. And so she gets this app in order to pay for her transition, and then it's about all of the nonsense and trouble that she gets into as a result of downloading that app. It's an action comedy, it's a lot of fun. My sister stars in that one, and she is an incredibly goofy person. She's like a very physical actor in a very fun way, and so we really leaned into that. There's lots of cool martial arts stuff in there. It's a lot of fun. Right now, we're currently talking to some distributors to get it on streaming. Hopefully that'll be, by the end of the year or early next year. So unfortunately, I don't have a place to like send you to go watch it, but it'll be out hopefully soon. And then, so just keep an eye out, Part-Time Killer on standarddefinitionfilms.com. We actually have the trailer for it, so you can check it out, keep an eye on it. That would be the biggest thing I would say to go do. Just check out the trailer. I'm sure you'll be excited. And then just last thing is that we're doing another feature film later this year, which is set in a dystopian future where all meat has been outlawed. And so there is an underground meat ring, and we follow an FDA agent who has basically become like the FBI now, hunting down illegal meat trade. Except the twist is, since meat's illegal, it's very hard to like farm animals because you need space and lots of energy. But 600,000 people go missing every year in America. So it's just cannibalism. It's an underground cannibal cult that's selling meat on the black market. And we follow a group of FDA agents who are trying to bust that particular ring.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you still have to, you still need the animals because people still like dairy and eggs, right? So
yeah, well, it's the idea is that it's like full veganism that like everything is shifted to. So it's like no animals, no animal products or anything. And that's like there's a section in the backstory of the whole world where like this kind of shift happened and it actually caused a global conflict where various different, it wasn't not like a full war, but like an economic war between various nations as it all happened. And the end result is this like militant vegan state. But the thing that we're trying to do, the careful like line we're trying to walk is we're trying to poke fun at both sides, because we're like, we've got like the militant vegan government, but also all of the meat eaters in the movie are like horrible, terrible people, like basically exactly the worst kind of people that like the vegans would point out to, like, this is why we shouldn't be eating meat. And so that's the kind of the joke is we're trying to like hit that point where regardless of where you land on that particular argument, you can laugh at the movie still. Because we're not specifically trying to say something about veganism. We're just trying to have fun in this world. But that's kind of the angle we're going at it for.
Does Standard Definition have a IMDb page, or?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I know that I created one at the very least at one point when I was putting all the links on there. So I know I have an IMDb. BJ Turner III, Standard Definitions should have one, and then Part Time Killer has an entry as well, our feature film.
Okay, I just wanted to know because I see on here that Chloe and Nadia have an IMDb page, and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if the shorts they're doing, the films they're doing with you all, are also on the IMDb page. And Emily, I see here as well.
I don't know for sure, but I think I put my IMDb down at the very bottom. But a lot of the shorts that we've made are on IMDb.
Okay. Yeah, I see the web pages and the Instagrams on the Kickstarter.
Gotcha. Well,
okay.
Then I'll go and actually add that to the links then, both Standard Definition and mine, so people can take a look. And then standarddefinitionfilms.com has a link to, if you go there, it's like a landing page that has all of our socials and a link to all of the videos that have been released thus far.
Cool. Fantastic. I think Baltimore has a film festival, but I don't think, well, Maryland. But I don't think they're actually having one because I actually volunteer there downtown. So, but I don't think they're having one. I don't know why I said that. All right. Well, go ahead. You want to say something?
Well, you just made me think. I just figured I'd go ahead and give them a shout out while I'm here. The ATX Short Film Showcase, which is a local showcase here in Austin, that every month they film 7 or 8 or show 7 or 8 short films from local Austin and Texas filmmakers. It's like a specific focus on local films. And that was kind of like, that was our very first screening over a year ago. That was the first time someone had actually accepted one of our shorts. We got it out there, we watched. That's where we met a lot of the people that we still work with today. Justin, the guy who created it, is a really, really great guy. So I just want to give them a shout out for being super awesome. And I would recommend any other filmmakers, especially here in the Austin area, to at least go and check it out. It's the second Monday of every month at the Spider House Ballroom. And if you've got stuff, submit it, because they just they're hungry for local filmmakers and the stuff that's coming out from the Texas area.
Cool. You should probably have something like that in Baltimore, but I don't know why. They probably do. I just need to look for it. And I mean, in speaking of looking for stuff, has there ever been any issues with like gatekeeping to try to get into festivals and certain things locally, at least, or things being hid behind paywalls as far as trying to get advice or information on things? Because I think that's a big issue with people who want to be creators, but they don't really know where to start, and everything is hid behind paywalls or gatekeeping.
Well, yeah, and I would definitely say that has that is an issue that you can run into, where like you don't know who to meet. I for 7 years, I was like, I don't know how to break back into it. I used to do it, but now I don't know anyone. Like, how do I make it happen again? And I think the biggest like answer I could give to that sort of thing, because we fortunately haven't experienced it too much here, just by nature of us, all of us had done years of like doing our own stuff and kind of already like broken through that by the time we came together and started working together. So Standard Definition itself hasn't really faced that. I did in my college days, just trying to be like, hey, I'm a college kid making movies and nobody cares, like I actually show it in front of someone. And I think the answer that we have found is just going to festivals, not even like whether you're showing anything or not, and then hanging out and meeting other filmmakers, because that's actually where like your future will lie. A lot of people think, oh, I need to meet a distributor, or I need to meet a producer or a like studio exec, something like that to go up there. But the truth is, you just meet other filmmakers who are making cool stuff. Become friends with them, share your stuff with them, work with them if you can, because a lot of times just by having someone else who's seen your stuff and like it, they'll talk to someone, they'll spread it. And top of a lot of people, especially at the lower budget level, like people who are still making short films, trying to break into the feature film game, they are actually very, very open and willing to talk to you about all that stuff. Like they're very excited about making film. And so I think the trick through all of that is, if you end up finding yourself hitting a wall, is stop trying to worry about like the industry or the people up at the top. It's go to the people at the bottom and chat with them. And like, at the very least, you're going to get excited and you're going to end up making something with them. And, you know, again, just making more stuff is the secret to getting to like growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. All right. I think I've talked your head off enough. All right. Well, again, I want to thank the director, BJ Turner III, for joining us here today to promote his short film, My Heart is That Eternal Dream, a queer romance action film, now on Kickstarter until April 9th. All of BJ's standard definition films, socials, and website will be listed in this episode's details, alongside My Heart is That Eternal Dream's Kickstarter for those who are interested in supporting the film. Again, I'm KS Garner, and you've been listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Thank you.